Set 4 will be played on Fighting Spirit. Spawning in the bottom right-hand position as the yellow Zerg, playing for SK Telecom T1, his name is S2.
His opponent needs to prove himself that he is a top-tier Pro League player. His name is Revival, spawning in the bottom left position of the map as Blue Zerg.
He's got a top-tier haircut. Next step is going to be a top-tier Pro League player. Now, this win right here for SK Telecom would really help them out, because if you look at their next two players, Parting and Fantasy, both of those guys are generally pretty solid in Pro League.
He really wants to win because he's going to go for the temple.
Indeed, there is the early pool from our SK Telecom player. Really going to be looking to put some pressure on his opponent, and luckily for him, he is going to know his opponent's starting location here with this Overlord. Now, his opponent will as well, so that may give him a little bit time to defend here. But overall, this should favor S2 slightly.
So now it's really up to Revival to scout what his opponent is doing and just react properly. But we still have to wait and see what Revival's build is going to be. Is it going to be the spawning pool first build, or is he going to go for the hatchery first?
That's going to be the real question here. It looks like he's saving up a good amount of money here. And yes, he is going to go for the hatchery first. I also want to point out Revival is 1-0 against S2 in StarCraft2.
That was back in Caldeum when the map was still being used, and S2 is probably smiling right now after seeing the 15 hatch from his opponent.
You can see the grin on his face right there, man. He is so happy. He's like, alright, I scouted the hatch first. Time to send my Zerglings over to my opponent's base here. He is continuing to make Zerglings behind this. The spawning pool has just started for Revival right now. He didn't go for the gas and then the pool, so things aren't in the worst possible scenario for him. But overall, this is still going to be really annoying to deal with, and he may even be forced to cancel this hatchery.
Yeah, well, S2 is not looking further into the game, and he is also getting a gas behind this. He's going to go for the Banelings, he's going to go for the speed, he's going to end the game before the Roaches can pop out.
Alright, Revival's going to have to deal with this, and the Zerglings actually running past the natural. Two of them are attacking that natural now, and he's going to know exactly what's going on here. It's going to come to Micro. Revival cannot lose too many of his workers here. He needs to deal with these Zerglings if possible. And remember, the spawning pool still is not yet completed for our Zerg in the blue.
Yeah, well, the spawning pool finally finishes, but he didn't save too much larva behind this, so he's going to have only few Zerglings out. And once those Zerglings pop up, all S2 has to do is force a fight with all of his Zerglings inside the main base. The natural hatchery also getting cancelled at the last second, with Revival knowing that he cannot defend against the Zerglings.
And you know, these Zerglings very close, almost got surrounded there. These Zerglings get surrounded there. That's actually huge here, and now the Zergling count very, very large for S2. He may be able to just brute force his way to victory over his opponent Revival, and it kind of sucks for Revival because it's almost a bit of a build order loss here. I mean, he played really greedy, and his opponent, you know, just kind of got a little bit lucky with his positioning, and this Queen may allow Revival to stay alive for a little bit longer here, but S2, he's continuing to build units here, man. He's really just going all in with this.
Well, he was also building a few drones behind this, so he is really happy with the fact that he was able to cancel the 15th hatch from his opponent early on in the game. He is getting a Baneling Nest behind this, but he is droning up a little bit, so it seems like he was satisfied with what he did earlier in the game, and now he can just stay back inside his main base, try to play a macro game, or if he finds a gap in his opponent's play, he could try to go for the attack and finish him.
Yep, that Queen potentially trying to lure some Zerglings in here. Baneling Nest on the way for both players. We do have Zergling speed about to complete for S2. That could be the turning point here. We do see him getting an additional expansion now. The Overlord from Revival does scout that. Revival still showing good, solid composure here after this attack.
So the Zerglings just lurking around in the natural over there, with S2 taking his own hatchery at the natural, as he's just going to pull back a little bit, make a Banelings of his own, but it does get scouted by the Overlord. Yeah, and the Baneling Nest is going to complete very soon here for Revival as well, instantly making some Banelings of his own here. It's just going to come down to Micro more than anything else now. Double Queen block at the natural ramp, and with Banelings behind this, I don't see this attack really working from S2. At most, he's going to be able to force a cancel on the hatchery, which is definitely going to be annoying here, but no, the hatchery is not canceled, and it's going to come down to Micro now.
Can we see those Zerglings get fended off?
Yeah, well, S2 making sure his Zerglings do not suicide into the Banelings over there, as Revival is doing a nice job defending against the Zerglings. But all S2 wants to do right now is cancel, kill off the hatchery over there, knowing that his own hatchery is slightly delayed.
All right, one drone getting picked off there. A Spine Crawler on the way at the natural. But I think there's just nice Baneling connection there. I think Revival, has done it, man. I don't see this aggression really working from S2's end.
Same here with the Spine Crawler building at the natural, and with it finishing, I don't see how S2 can actually take out the hatchery unless he tries to suicide all of his units into the hatchery over there, which is also not going to work out with 2 Queens and a Spine Crawler at the natural.
Nice job there. Really microing these Zerglings quite well against the last of those few Banelings from Revival. He just needs to sit back and defend now. And we do see 5 additional workers on the way for Revival. Just going to continue droning up behind this. S2 at the same time is doing the same thing. He is actually a little bit ahead in the worker count right now. So doing his best to catch up in economy. Now putting workers back on gas as well. Took those off for a little bit to really just, focus on getting more minerals here.
Yeah, well, S2 is still in a fantastic position. He is getting a layer behind his opponent. Is getting a Roach Warren, that's Revival's Roach Warren, and he wants to go make those units and go for a strong counterattack, knowing that his opponent is now macroing up heavily after the early game aggression.
A little bit of a mistake there from Revival. He should have scattered around his opponent's entire base, but still was able to get those lings and try to do a little bit of damage. Nice hold from S2. Looks like we got, I believe that was a Roach Warren on the way. Okay, never mind. It's okay, Evolution Chamber and Roach Warren from S2 behind this. And his lair is on the way as well.
So now it's just going to be a regular macro game between the 2 players, with S2 doing a nice job canceling the hatchery at the natural, but also Revival building 2 Queens and defending against the Zerglings just in time before it was too late for Revival.
Revival behind this making a lot of Roaches, up to 9 in production now. He has not gone for the lair, unlike his opponent here. Roach speed on the way for S2. He's also building a good amount of Roaches of his own, getting the +1 attack on this. Revival may just try to go for some type of low econ bust here with just a superior amount of Roaches and potentially units behind this, Banelings or Zerglings. Not sure if it's going to work, though, because the economy from S2 is pretty solid at this point, and he's continuing to make a lot of additional Roaches.
As long as S2 has good positioning at the natural, he sees the Roaches coming. His Roaches are finishing right now with 6 additional Roaches out on the way. So as long as he doesn't lose too many drones, he's going to win the game, no problem. His opponent does not have the +1, does not have the speed, doesn't even have a layer behind this. This is pretty much all or nothing for Revival.
Yeah, Revival needs to do a lot of damage with this attack here. He's moving with the Banelings, trying to get some good connections off here. The Banelings actually going to end up going for the mineral line, picking off a lot of workers there. Nice job from Revival, and he may actually end up winning the battle as well here. More Roaches are being reinforced in, however, and the Banelings not doing too much damage here. S2 defends, loses some workers, but overall, the attack from Revival has been thwarted. He has taken a pretty solid drone advantage, though. 49 to 34 workers. No layer tech, though.
This means that Revival, he can squeeze out a lot of units behind this. His layer is also finishing, but he's going to be behind in the upgrades throughout the whole game. So if S2 just squeezes out drones and just buys enough time to replenish those drones at the natural, he's going to overpower his opponent with better upgrades and, better upgrades on the Roaches with +1 finishing and speed already finished for S2.
Yep, and we do see Revival going for the +1 armor here, actually, instead of the +1 attack. Yes, realizing that his opponent was already going for the +1 attack, wants to catch up in that way. Getting Roach speed now as well behind this. No metas in sight here. It looks like it's just going to be a ground-based composition, at least for now. Nice job from Revival, spotting the potential third here for his opponent, and also getting a third of his own. Really still anyone's game at this point. The supplies are pretty even. There's not a huge difference between either player. I mean, they have certain advantages in certain areas, whether it be upgrades or economy, but across the entire playing field, things are overall pretty even.
The one thing that I'm not happy about S2's play is he's only going for the 1 Evolution Chamber. He's getting a +2 right now. But with Revival going for the double Evo Chamber, eventually he's going to catch up in the upgrade wars against his opponent.
Yeah, great point you're bringing up there. Also, doing a good job killing up a few of these creep tumors here on Revival's side of the map. But yeah, the double upgrades, they're going to help out so much later on in this game here. I don't think the game is going to end before, you know, like the upgrades can really kick in and help out Revival as well here. The Roaches moving in. This positioning is solid here. Revival moving in with a lot of Roaches of his own here, and it's going to be really close. Looks like the Roaches from S2 are going to be forced back here. Nice positioning from Revival.
Revival might have more Roaches. I mean, S2 does have a better upgrade in this situation, but because of the positioning, S2 was forced to pull back. These Banelings trying to connect with the drones that are not over there, as S2 has fantastic reaction timing against the Banelings.
Indeed he does. Even has a Roach there as well to help against any potential run-bys there. And 13 Roaches in production here for S2. That's going to give him a nice Roach advantage over his opponent. And his +2 attack is on the way here. If the +2 attack finishes, it'll pretty much equalize out with the 1-1 from his opponent, Revival, here. But if Revival starts getting his double upgrades out, then he's going to get into a much better position here. Securing the third on both ends. Supplies dead even. 142 to 142. +2 carapace it out on the way for Revival, and we do see S2. Is he going to push across the map here? He's starting to become aggressive.
And the thing is, we don't have full saturation at the third base right now for S2. He didn't even take the high yield gas. In fact, he's making 15 Roaches, no drones behind this. So once the +2 finishes, he wants to go for the attack, and he wants to finish his opponent.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. We don't see any Hydrogen on the way for S2, but there is one on the way for Revival. Revival needs to defend against this timing here. It's going to be very close here. Moving in now. The Roaches are coming in. The Concave overall pretty good from Revival.
+2 still not finished. S2 hit a few seconds too early. Is that going to allow Revival to defend against these Roaches from S2? Remember, all Revival has to do is defend just once.
The Roach count is in the favor for S2, but not all of them are in this main army here. Revival, I think, just has a few more units in this position here, and eventually he may force his opponent away. The reinforcements are going to be a little bit quicker for Revival, but no, S2 just has slightly more Roaches. No clear victor there. It looks like S2 barely won the fight, but I mean, yeah, he's got a few extra Roaches here. If he can make that work with these additional Zerglings, then could be the tide that he needs to take this game here. Moving towards the third now. Revival only with a handful of Roaches compared to this Roachling army.
Yeah, well, he needs to deal some economic damage given the fact that he's even squeezing out Zerglings to make this attack work. That's how much S2 wants to make this attack work. And he knows that he has more Roach count than his opponent. That's why he's going for the full surround. But is this going to be enough? Seems like Revival is slowly eating away on S2's Roaches, with S2's reinforcements just arriving in time.
Yep, the additional Zerglings here could certainly help out a lot, but Revival, I think he has just barely enough Roaches to defend here, and yes, he does indeed defend. S2 thwarted and now forced back. The +2 carapace is about to complete, as well as the +2 attack for Revival. He's going to have access to the Hydras 3 in production right now. As long as Revival survives long enough to get these Hydras into the main mix, he's going to be in an amazing position to take some of these intensively important fights.
Well, all he needs to do is make sure his Roaches do not get caught out of position in the middle, like you said. And he already has +2 carapace finished. He's going for the +2, which is going to finish pretty soon. The Hydras are coming out, so S2 not in the best position. Those Roaches, if they kill the hatchery, if they kill a lot of drones, then maybe we could have called the battle even. But if you just look at the fight, yes, Revival barely defended, but that's all Revival needed to do, and that's something that S2 did not want with the particular engagement in the middle of the map.
Exactly. We're starting to see now the +2 completing the Hydra speed will complete as well here. Just the overall army composition for Revival is going to be superior over his opponent. Roach Hydra is going to generally beat Roachling. The DPS from these Hydras cannot be underestimated here. And just, we still see continued production on both ends here. The Roaches moving in. The positioning is solid. Some of these units getting caught out of position, actually. And this may be the win that S2 actually needs in order to get back in this game here. A few units moving in, reinforcing from the other expansions. The Hydras, can they bring in enough DPS to hold off this attack?
Well, remember the DPS and the upgrades. Yes, Revival doesn't have that much units, but because of the reinforcements, because of +2 carapace, he is going to win the battle and push his opponent away once again.
Yeah, it just seems like no matter what, S2 can't catch a break here. Roaches running by towards the third base. There's nothing to really defend against these Roaches as well, and you know, these drones are just going to start falling here, and Revival is going to just take a larger and larger lead over the course of this game here. He's got the better army composition. He's doing damage at the third base as well. He's ahead in supply. Everything is looking good for Revival. These Roaches doing a little dance here, not being controlled efficiently, but still, you know, doing a good job at killing off a few units here. We have another engagement in the middle of the map as well. The Hydra actually DPS is helping out so much here. This should allow Revival to just narrowly grab the win here. Still looking pretty close. Yes, the Roaches are forced back from S2's side. Supplies still ahead for the EGTL player.
And this is the difference between the 2 Evo Chambers and 1 Evo Chamber. If you try to go for the 1 Evo Chamber, you can grab an early timing window against your opponent, but if the attack does not work out, your opponent is going to eventually overpower you. S2 is doing a nice job squeezing out tons of Roaches, knowing that that is the only way he can survive in this game while trying to deal some economic damage over at the third base, but with Revival getting a lot of Roaches out of his own, getting Hydras into the main army mix. I don't see S2 winning with pure Roaches at this point.
I also want to point out, look at the Overlord positioning on the map for Revival. Absolutely amazing. He has got pretty much every corner, ridge area covered that he needs to. The only way I could actually see S2 getting a win here is if he has a really nice concave on the Hydras in addition to the Roaches. Hold that thought, though. We're having a big attack here. The Hydra range is complete. Don't forget that. The Roaches, though, moving around from the side here. The Roach count actually pretty solid overall here. The Hydras, though, they're not getting focus fired down. It's still anyone's game here, but I think the DPS may just be a little bit too much for Revival, and he does have a very, very solid supply advantage. Additional units reinforcing as well. S2, it's not looking amazing for him here. He's forced back now on the defensive after being on the offensive almost the entire game. Revival's just consistently holding attack after attack, and he's finally able to press forward over his opponent now. I don't think there's anything that can really be done on S2's side. And look at this, we do have a Manor Hatchery that will be eventually constructed from Revival here. Excellent play all around from him. GG is called. Evil Genius's Team Liquid now up 3-1 over their opponents, SK Telecom.
Really solid concept by Revival today, as he knew that his opponent wanted to be aggressive, so all he had to do is defend against his opponent. He was going to have better army composition, better upgrade compared to his opponent, and everything went to his scenario.
Revival doing a thumbs down, adding in a little flair to his victory there. Yeah, that's actually one of the most solid games I've seen from Revival. That was pretty impressive overall from him. Nice to see that. And like I said, this